We are now recording. So thank you so much for for coming to this meeting today. This is the 6th grade kind of parent-teacher conferences, I guess. We've not done parent-teacher conferences in the past for middle school, but because of everything that is going on, just because of the change in the way school is this year, as you guys all know, we are trying to make sure that you guys are feel as connected as you can with us. We can't see you in the mornings, or we can't see you in the afternoons on a regular basis like we have in the past. So I do have a specific outline that I am going to go through, and just want to say one more time, I am recording this video so that it will be available for parents who are not able to make it tonight. So today. So thank you again for everybody who is here. We appreciate your time. So I'm just going to go over a couple of things that are, I feel like this is almost a back to school night presentation, because in the first meet and greet, I don't know how you felt about this, Mr. Magnuson, but I almost didn't know what I was doing. I almost didn't know how I was going to teach, or what exactly the expectations were going to be, because everything was so different. So now that we've had about six or seven, actually we're in week 9. Now that we've had 8 weeks behind us, I feel like I have a bit of understanding of what we're doing here and how to create those expectations for the kids. So I'm going to go through some of the assignments that are pretty consistently regular for the kids, just so that you know what they are and you know what my expectations are. The first assignment that we're doing is the iReady assignment. This just started last week. So they just completed their first iReady assignment last week for me. And their iReady assignment is worth 150 points. The way I do that is they have to have 50 minutes online, and then they have to pass a lesson. So if they get 100% on their lesson, they get 100 points. If they have 50 minutes in the program, they get 150 points. So I add the points and I add the percentage for the lesson, and that is how they get their points. A student can try to redo the lesson as many times as they like to get the highest score that they would like. So they have an opportunity to get the highest scores possible. We just talked about this today, whereas if they did not pass the lesson at all, but they put their 50 minutes in, they're only getting 50 points out of 150. So we talked about this week, there were a lot of students who didn't understand. So what I will do at the end of the semester before grades come out is I will drop their lowest grade. So if your student did not understand that, or if they just didn't, I don't know, they didn't do well, and this last week was their worst grade, then I'll drop that, and then we'll just move on from there. So that's kind of the iReady program. I do know that Mr. Magnuson has iReady in his class as well. And I don't know, Mr. Magnuson, if you want to hop in, or if you want to just kind of do your information at the end.
As far as iReady, we've been just sort of starting that up as well. I haven't really figured out how to make points for it like you have. We have a few assignments that we've been working on. I feel like a lot of what we've been doing these few weeks is getting kids to be able to access their assignments, complete them, and turn them in has been a huge thing. And so I haven't had a lot in the way of tests that kids have taken. If they're doing their work and getting it turned in, then their grades are pretty good. And if they haven't been doing their work and getting it turned in, then their grades are not very good. So I feel like it's the training period has been going on long enough. And so we are going to be having some more quizzes and tests. And I'm probably not going to be as lenient with turning in late assignments. There have been things that have come in, 2, 3, 4 weeks late that I've given kids credit for, because I have wanted to, make sure that we're um, getting kids past issues of technology and procedures. It's so different for them to have to complete work, take a picture of it and turn it in. So I've been really focusing on getting those procedures in place. So.
And that is the same with me as well. In my class, most of the assignments are credit, no credit. Like if you're in class and you're paying attention and you're following along with what I'm doing, I give the kids the answers. They're supposed to put it on the assignment and turn it in. So most of the assignments that I have done have pretty much been credit, no credit. Sort of. I mean, if I'm giving them the answer and they wrote down something different, then I'm not going to give them credit for that particular assignment, specifically in grammar. And so I'll kind of go over the grammar program really quickly. We do something called 5 a day, where eventually, once we learn all the grammar strategies, they will be doing five standards of grammar a day, Monday through Thursday. But I do it with them. So I'm giving them the answers. We're talking about how to get there. So that's the grammar program. But and then by Friday, they have to turn it in. And I'm just basically looking through, did they listen? Were they following along? I do notes for them. And then last week was their first quiz. Like Mr. Magnuson, I was waiting quite a while before I gave that first quiz. And so I will give a makeup quiz for that particular quiz. For those, there were just a small handful of kids who need a little bit of extra help with that. So I'll give a makeup quiz for that. And then the reading logs, I just wanted to touch base about the reading logs. That also is basically a credit, no credit. If your child gets anything less than a 10, what they can do is go into the assignment and check anything that I've highlighted pink means that they didn't do it correctly or they got points taken away. So the reading log is basically your child really should be getting a 10, a 9 or a 10. If they have a 9 or a 10, then they've done everything that they were supposed to do. Anything less than that, you can go into the assignment. Anything that is not a grade that is passing, I will put what they did wrong. So you personally never have to wonder. You're welcome to meet with me during office hours, and I'd love to go over it with you, but you can always go into their assignment and I have some sort of note saying, what they missed on that particular assignment. Going over the science lessons that we've been doing, we basically have been doing 2 science lessons a week, with the exception of the week that we had the power outage. And we had 1 lesson that week and I had to do 3 lessons the following week, but 2 lessons a week. And those lessons, in the lessons, I have embedded videos, and I don't watch the videos while in class. But if a student isn't able to be in class, if a student is having issues with connectivity, that's been an issue. If they can't hear me, or if they're having any kind of issues where they can't be in class, science, they can go on to the video and they can go on to the PowerPoint presentation and watch the video of another teacher presenting the lesson. So if your child is struggling with the science, I am walking them through it and giving them lessons, but if they can't hear or if they just don't understand, they can always go back and watch a reteach of the lesson. I do the lessons that day, and I just recently, last week, started making them do that day because like Mr. Magnuson was saying, I'm doing the lessons with them in class so they have the answers. But then I wouldn't have kids turning them in for 2 and 3 weeks. And that's frustrating as a teacher trying to grade things. And so over the last week, I think was the week where I started saying, hey, we just did this in class. You need to turn it in right now because we just did all the answers. I just gave you all the answers. We just talked about it. So basically by the end of every day, on Mondays and Fridays, we'll have a lesson that they have to turn in. Wednesdays will be kind of practice and making sure they understand the stuff, but Mondays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Fridays, depending on what block your child is in. But twice a week, they will have a lesson that is due on the very same day that they have that lesson. The other thing for me is there's something called advisory, and that's from 12:40 to 1. I am on advisory, so I'm on this Zoom link, and kids can hop in at 12:40, either after seeing Mr. Magnuson or after being with Mr. Ward. And if they have any questions about the lessons that day, they can hop on at 12:40, and I am there to help them answer any questions they may have. So so today we had a lesson, and the students, there were a couple students who didn't understand it. They showed up in my advisory and I walked them through the answers. So really on the science, that is something they should be able to, I believe that if they're not asking for the help, I have to assume that they understood it. So, and then as far as late work goes, I'm fairly lenient, but I'm trying to teach the kids responsibility. And so I am doing it for 1 day late. I take away 10%, 2 days late, it's 20%, 3 days late, it's 30%, but I don't go below 30%. So basically the lowest a student can get if they earn 100% is 70%. It's still passing, but it's still painful enough to where hopefully it teaches them to turn things in on time. I am keeping track. I will start emailing parents when kids are habitually late. Please excuse some of the lack of me doing that, just simply because this teaching has been a little overwhelming. I'm sure Mr. Magnuson can share just, teaching in general is not necessarily a walk in the park, but doing it differently is has almost doubled our workload. And so I am trying my best to try to make sure I'm communicating with parents, especially with students with late work, but that will be getting better as now I have my feet underneath me and I kind of feel like I've got a flow of the way the classroom goes. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about really quickly is I'm going to start doing something called Wellness Wednesdays. Wednesdays are hectic. I don't know if your kids have talked to you about that. It's rapid fire, 40 minutes, class to class. And so I am going to kind of slow down my teaching a little bit on Wednesdays, where we're learning. I'm just making sure kids understand. And then I'm going to have about 20 minutes of one of my classes where we kind of get to know each other, where we might play some games, where the kids just to get to feel like they're part of a community, because I think that's really important for the kids to have some sort of connection. Some kids are naturally good at it. Some kids are really connecting, especially during those 10-minute breaks that we have. Some kids need a little help. So I will be doing something. If your child mentions Wellness Wednesday, that's what I'll be doing in my class, is like a 20-minute kind of a game. There's no set thing that I'm going to do every time, but just some sort of way where the kids can connect to each other and feel like they have some sort of kind of fun, just community building activities. That's all that I had, Mr. Magnuson. Did you have anything else to share?
Well, I agree with just about everything you've been saying about, the adjustment for us and for the kids, and I will say that the kids have been doing a really awesome job, most of them, of getting on, of trying to do their assignments, of getting things turned in. Some of the kids I think are having a bit of a hard time still getting things turned in. And so if your student has a poor grade or a low grade, please, reach out, and I'd love to work with you to get it straightened out and get kids on track. I don't want kids to get super behind, but that's been something. I think I'm finally have a bit of a rhythm that I'm going to be getting in for the rest of the semester, which I meet with all of the kids either Monday or Tuesday, everybody on Wednesday, and then again Thursday and Friday. So basically they'll have 3 assignments per week that they need to complete for me, with the exception possibly of one of the things we do comes in 4s. There's 4 math worksheets that they need to complete. And so yeah, so our due dates will pretty much be by the end of the day on Tuesday. Things will need to be in. There will be things to be turned in on Thursday morning from Wednesday, so that they have, during class and also some time after school if they need it. And then by the end of the day on Friday. I'm also available during advisory. On my Google Classroom, there should be my schedule. And so they can click on any of those to meet up with me during that 12:40 to 1 spot. And I'm available to meet with parents, at any time. If you were to drop me an email, I have like a little personal Zoom link. I could just mail you the link and we can just chat over a Zoom. Or if you could drop me an email and let me know what's going on, I'm happy to interact that way as well. That's worked well for things like missing assignments or occasional things that come up with the attendance and everything. So I'm by no means an expert at this, and anything that you can share from your experience really helps me out, and I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate how helpful the kids have been, and also how helpful parents have been so far this year. So that's about it, unless there are questions or.
Yes, Gabriella.
About the novel that they're supposed to be picking up from school for ELA, when are we supposed to go get it, and which novel is it, please?
It's The Boy in the Painted Cave. The actual pickup time was last Thursday, but all that meant was that's the open time in which you could go in there without making an appointment. If you want to pick it up now, you just have to call the office and make an appointment to go in there and grab that. The novel is not required. So we're going to start reading that on Friday, but if you don't get it by Friday, it's not going to be unavailable to your child. I took a picture of every single page and created a PDF document for you so that the pages are available. I also have a link to a different teacher, not me, a different teacher reading the novel. So the novel will be available in 2 different ways. However, my favorite way of reading a book is with a book in front of me. So, so the book is available at school, but because of everything that's going on the distance, I just wanted to make sure this was kind of a no excuse, nothing in the way of your child being able to read and participate. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
And if I could jump in there is another material distribution coming up on October 21st, a Thursday. And I'm going to be sending home a packet for math on that day. So if somebody still needed to get their novel, maybe we could have those on hand for them or something. But I'll be sending out an email. I'll be letting all the kids know that that's coming up, so that if not all the parents can make it through, maybe they could arrange with somebody, with a buddy or somebody that lives nearby, to get their packet of 6th grade math notes on that. So I'll put that out. Also, if you did not pick up a science workbook at the beginning of the school year, you can ask for that. The science lessons are now focused on science workbook. So kids are able to do PDF versions of the workbooks online, but there are a couple kids who like to do the work on the workbooks and take a picture and attach that. So you can talk to your child if they prefer to do handwritten work and take pictures and attach,
Also, if your child is more interested in doing handwritten stuff than on PDF, because PDF can be tricky and they're probably mostly just learning how to do that this year. Have your child, or you can message me through Class Dojo, and I can create a packet of 5 a day for you. So we do 5 a day, the grammar program online, PDF now. But if your child is more comfortable doing it handwritten, I can make those available next week as well. I just don't want to make a bunch of copies and not have them picked up. So if you request a printed copy, I'd be happy to have them made and have your name put on it. So are there any other questions? Go for it.
For when the kids turn in their assignments, I think my daughter's just taking a picture of it. Do you prefer that we scan it if we have a scanner? Because I tried looking at what she turns in and I said, I can't see anything. But if the teacher's okay with that, I guess it's okay.
I mean, if you have a better way, I don't ever want to say because you didn't take a good picture, I'm not going to grade it. I definitely prefer if you can scan it and it looks better. Obviously, that's easier for me. But I can expand it and make it look bigger, and I can kind of, go around. Obviously, it's easier for me and I can grade it faster if I don't have to do that.
Okay, I will start scanning things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Magnuson. I had a quick question on just like the 5 a days. Is this like reviewing the 5th grade material that the students should have learned, or is this stuff that they will be taught for the 6th grade?
The grammar?
No, the math.
Oh, okay.
On the Common Core State Standards one?
Yes. Let me make sure. It says 6th grade math. It's the 5 a days that the students get every week.
Okay, so, Ms. Wilkins is the one that has the 5 a day assignment. But if you're talking about the CCS,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are reviews of things that are from previous years. And so with the other 2 base school teachers, we thought that we would work with those, given that we ended the school year kind of early last year, just to make sure kids are keeping up, and also to make sure things are getting filled in. We're also going to be starting working in iReady a lot more each day, which will have the kids working on this year's standards quite a bit more.
Okay.
And moving them along. Yeah, it was just kind of, we weren't sure going in how much they actually missed out on with the spring. And so I noticed when we took our iReady diagnostic at the beginning of the year that most of the scores we didn't have quite as many kids who were like well into 6th grade, and a lot more kids were more in 5th grade area as far as that went.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And now with that packet that's coming out on the 21st, would that be more of 6th grade material or more review of the 5th grade work?
It's 6th grade material.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have another one.
Perfect. Please keep going.
With the students not understanding, is this some way that we as the parents can, ask their principal, hey, can we extend the classes longer? That way they understand the material, have an opportunity to understand the material, because it does seem short. Sometimes I'm in here, might be painting, and then the next thing I know, my son's in another class, like an hour. Yes, that's standard, but it's difficult for you all to teach it with all the kids talking over the phone or iPad or whatever they're using to learn. Is there a way that we as parents can get the school hours extended pretty much?
I don't know if that's possible, only because it's a district-wide thing, and our principal mentioned something about changing hours to help parents in the base schools, line up middle school, because we're a unique school with middle school and elementary school. And so she was like, okay, we'll just change it. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, we can't do that. That's against the policy. So as far as extending hours, I don't think that is something that can happen. However, I would just make sure your children, if they're confused about something, that they take advantage of advisory. That's how I'm using advisory, is for that extended period. And oftentimes I'm only working with like 2 kids. And so we're really cutting down on the amount of distractions and how many kids are there. And it's typically the kids who really want, not who really want the help. I don't want to say really want to learn, but because they're going beyond the hours and they go there. And I'll be honest with you, if they're hopping on with me, I'll stick with them as long as they need the help. I mean, I've worked through my lunch, so I'm not legally supposed to be doing that, but that's all I'll say. And then also keep in mind, I'm sorry, I see your hand up. Keep in mind that the 1:30 to 2:30 are office hours. So if your child does need an extended period of time, if your child has an adult at home, they are welcome to hop on. I've done this with a child before where the mom said, we really need extra help. And so the mom and the child hopped on with me during office hours. And I sat down and worked with that particular child during that time. We just need to make sure that there's more than one child on with us. And so if there's an adult available, they can just kind of be seen in the background, and that works during office hours if your child is having specific trouble. So, Gabriella?
I just went through Aries and kind of annotated all the assignments my child hasn't done. And some of them are quite old, and I miss them. I try to go through their Google Classroom in the middle of the week and then on Fridays to make sure there are no missing assignments, that there's nothing due at the end of Friday. But sometimes I miss stuff, obviously, because I'm not a Google Classroom person. And so for those that are quite old, do you want us, or would you recommend that we go ahead and do the assignment for the sake of getting the assignment done? Or have you progressed so far beyond that it's just going to kind of be a time suck on you to have to go back and grade that thing?
I appreciate that question. I have an answer for that for me, and then I'll let Mr. Magnuson answer his question. I told kids, and I warned them at the 6-week period, you have until the 6 weeks to make something up. And if you haven't made it up, I'm going to turn it into a 0. So that's for my class. Anything that shows up orange is something I felt was valuable enough for them to do. So in my class, if there's anything that's orange, I want them to do it. If I didn't want them to do it, or I wanted them to do it all along, but if in my opinion, it's too late and you get what you get, I've made it a 0. So anything in my class on Aries that's orange, please, your child can do that. Yeah. And then Mr. Magnuson, I don't know.
Well, I kind of am along the same lines. I think the kids need to learn responsibility. That's a big thing moving from 5th grade up to middle school and on in through high school, is that, and I think the kids, for the most part, they know, they either choose to do their work or they choose not to. Sometimes these have been extenuating circumstances. And so if somebody's parents came to me and we needed to have a discussion about like an awful lot of missing assignments, what can we do about this? Because it can be quite overwhelming. And some of the kids in my grade book, I must say, have almost all of their assignments are missing, unfortunately. And so to try to make them sit down and do all of those, I don't know if that would really serve a learning goal. So if, I'd be open to discuss things, but really for the most part, I agree with what Ms. Wilkins says, that they either choose to do their work or they choose not to. I know some of the kids, they come for roll call and then they check out and they come back at the end of the period to turn the meeting off. And when you call their name during the class, you don't hear from them. And so it's really hard to say, whether they've, had some difficulty. I know there's 2, 3, maybe 4 kids trying to have online school in the same room, and that can be really hard. It can be taxing on their bandwidth. So I probably wouldn't be as strict this year, especially at the beginning, so I would definitely be willing to have a conversation about, what could be done to make sure kids don't get, like straight Fs in their whole first semester. But I don't know. Did I answer that question? Or I mean, I really think kids need to learn to be responsible, and they need to take their consequences. But this year is kind of different. And so I would be willing to have a conversation.
And the end of the 6 weeks was the 2nd of October, correct? Was that the last day of the 6 weeks?
Sounds right.
When the second 6 weeks started?
We're in week 9, so.
Yeah. So yeah, we're halfway through the second progress report.
Yeah. And for me, I just had a student who was one of those students who had a ton of work out there. And so I sat down with her and I looked at her areas and I said, you know what, turn this one in first, turn this one in first. And I helped her pick and choose which one would be more impactful for her grade. So we were looking at the ones that, and so we're here to help your child. We're here to work with them. And so as long as they're showing up, especially for me during that advisory period, I'm going to want to make sure that they get as much help as they can. Deborah, you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
I do. I'm sorry, I had to figure out on mute. Thank you so much for your time today. I know that as teachers, your workload is insane. As a parent, I just feel like I have no clue what's going on. And I know, both my girls I have a younger elementary school age, and I still don't understand all of the different portals and things that are used for their schoolwork. And I've had both of my kids sit down with me and try to walk me through everything, but I'll be honest, it's a lot, not just that learning curve of being online, and getting used to how to turn in these assignments digitally, to attend class digitally, to pay attention, to deal with other siblings in the room. And then meanwhile, I'm still going to work, and their dad's working from home. So it's difficult to give them the amount of attention that feels like they need. We're going through a lot. So I guess my concern is, as far as missing work goes and trying to make that up, I feel like as a parent, obviously I do agree that the responsibility should be on the kiddos, that this is a great time to learn that responsibility. I remember that big jump for myself, and that a part of it should be with them. Excuse me. But it's difficult as a parent to hold them to that responsibility if I don't know what's going on. So I can ask, hey, did you complete this assignment? They'll say yes to me when really they didn't. Obviously, there's a little issue there between me and my child as a parent. But if I felt I was more aware of what was being asked of them, I feel like I could do a better job helping follow up and making sure they completed their assignments. So I don't know. I mean, I hate to, add to your workload, or if there's any way to clearly define it, because even when I go on the Google Classroom and I'm trying to look through Aries and I'm trying to see everything that's missing, I still feel like there's stuff that'll come up and it hasn't been turned in, and frustrating for my kid, frustrating for me.
So one of the things that, and I hear that you're in Aries. When you're saying you're in Aries, are you in Aries as a parent? I'm sorry, not Aries, Google Classroom as a parent.
No, I believe I'm in there. Like, I go on in their profile.
Okay. Because that was going to be, and I think maybe I had talked to you about that. I can't remember if I talked to you about that. But I've talked to a couple parents about that. If you're struggling, if your child is struggling with doing assignments or turning assignments in, me as a parent, I found it easier for me to log in as my child on my phone, or have my child log into her account on my phone. That way I could see the full assignment, because as a parent in Google Classroom, it gives you very little information and it's really hard to track any late assignments. But as a child, you can see everything that the teacher is asking, all the directions, all the links, everything in there. One of the things that you can check, just like a quick visual, is whatever the classroom color is. So my classroom happens to be purple. If you scroll through, anything that is purple is something that is due. Anything that is grayed out is either not due or turned in. So that's just a quick visual. If you scroll through Google Classroom and you're just looking, just look for, and Mr. Magnuson, I don't know what color your classroom is, but you're looking for the color, the circle on there, and it will show you, again, what's turned in and what's not. If you would like a more personalized walk through something like that, I'd be happy to meet with you and create where we can meet personally and have an appointment, and I'd be happy to walk with you. So just, if you will just connect with me and let me know what times you would like for me to do that I'll reach out to you. I see the family. I gotcha.
That's
Thank
what
you so
I was
much.
thinking as you were kind of telling us about that crossed my mind as well, that if somebody would like to, make a time to get together, we could look at things together on Google Classroom and just kind of walk through it, because I can share my screen. We can talk about things, what's going on. And I feel like at this point, I did try out some other things. We tried an online thing that the district had available in both math and in social studies called Apex Learning, that really didn't, I don't think, suit our groups. And so we're kind of moving away from that. And in social studies, we're going to be just working with our CNN 10, which is something we do together when we're those 3 days a week. And we're going to be working in our doing assignments in our textbook and kind of reading the textbook, taking notes and doing things like that. And so I think finally getting it sort of things weeded out that aren't working. And I think I'll have it streamlined and a little more manageable, just the same things over and over, which is usually how I teach. Is I find that I'm pretty predictable, and that usually helps the kids out when they come to 6th grade. And this year I haven't been able to do that, but I feel like I'm kind of getting it dialed in. But if and maybe I should put out an email to the parents if they would like to make a time to look at Google Classroom together and make sure that things make sense. I'm more than willing to do that.
Thank you so much for being here. Do we have any other questions? Yes, Jenna.
Sometimes when I hop in on my daughter, it doesn't show her face. I guess it's like there's a blank screen. She says that her screen freezes often, and that's why she does that. Does that count negatively towards her attendance or her participating in the class?
So my requirement is in the first 5 minutes, everybody has to turn their screen on. And you turn your screen on and I take roll. Once I'm done with roll, I don't say turn your screen off, because honestly, I want them to keep their screen on, but they know that they can. And quite honestly, even this, because kids are, even if they have their screen on and I can see the top of their head, I'm still fine with that, because I know we're middle schoolers and we're super self-conscious at this age. But I need some sort of visual acknowledgement that they're there. But for the rest of the time, it's not. Obviously, I prefer, it's easier to talk to a bunch of kids than it is to a bunch of names. Every once in a while for me, I will say, okay, everybody on screen, I need to make sure you're listening if it's something important. Okay, is everybody eyes on me? Okay, good. And then I'll talk to them. But most of the time, and names up are fine.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the same for me. One thing we've run into is some people are working and doing their schoolwork from places that they're on a hotspot, or just their bandwidth kind of causes them to not be able to hear me. if they have their video on, and sometimes it improves the performance if they have their video off. So it's really hard for me to make a blanket statement, okay, everybody, you have to be on 100%, and I need to be able to see you, because sometimes, you know, like just today, I had 3 or 4 kids throughout the day who kept getting kicked out of the meeting. I would hear the sound. It makes a sound when somebody leaves the meeting, and then they'd be in the waiting room, and I'd be letting them back in. And I know that's frustrating for them as well, because they're trying to follow along and do what they need to do. So it's kind of like, you know, sometimes you are just looking at black screens, but I don't, you know, count anything against them. Really, all I can go by is, you know, their participation and them getting their assignments turned in.
And that's, and for me as well, I just require some sort of form of communication. So if I ask a question, as long as they answer me, they can come live on their screen. They can just come live on their microphone. I've got one little sweetie, Miss Swanson, who just likes to type to me. So she types me, she even types me jokes in the middle of class, which I find endearing. And so I'll be teaching and kind of chuckle. She knows that I'm chuckling at her joke, even though I don't share it with the class. So as long as there's some form of communication, and we know that that your child is in class, we're good. And then I just got a question about communication, the best form of communication. For me personally, I do Class Dojo because Class Dojo alerts me. I just got a couple of rings. I don't know if you could hear it, but that specific ring tells me that a parent is trying to communicate with me. And so as soon as I almost wanted to answer it, because that's my kind of like Pavlov dog, is to answer it as soon as I hear it. My email doesn't do that to me. I open up my email once, maybe twice a day, and I've got all these emails that I have to wade through. So I don't respond as quickly on email. It's not that I won't respond to you on email, but I am just more readily responding. I was going to say responsible. I'm more readily responsive on Google, on Class Dojo. But I will respond to emails, just not always as quickly for me.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So your free time only is between lunch, right? It's like if the kids need like extra help, it's only around your lunchtime. Is that what you were saying earlier?
12:40 to 1 o'clock is the scheduled advisory time.
1:40 to
1:30. Yeah, 12:40 to 1, right before lunch. That's that advisory period on the schedule. And then they have what's slated as office hours from 1:30 to 2:30 after lunch.
So 1:30, you said office hours are 1:30 to 2:30?
1:30 to 2:30. Yes.
And this is for like additional help, because I understand what Deborah's going through, because I take care of one of my children. I'm always behind so many Zoom meetings with him.
Yeah.
And as for my daughter being in your class, I feel like she does need that extra help and extra push.
Yeah.
So like, I'm hoping that she would go into these meetings without me being there, but.
So the 1:30 to 2:30 are scheduled appointments. It's not like advisory where I'm on, because those are the times where I'm planning lessons and doing that, but they're scheduled for those assignments. So she doesn't have the ability to just hop on there like advisory.
Oh.
So those have to be scheduled appointments. So those
and
are.
Do I schedule it with you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely I'll be messaging you.
Perfect. And that's like the designated time. So advisory, I might have 3 to, sometimes I have had 10 kids on there with me, and I'm like, okay, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? But the office hours will just be, okay, what do you need? Right. And so office hours are more personalized.
Okay, I definitely need that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, Simone.
Hi, I just have a question as far as the curriculum that they're learning. I think my concern this year is my son being behind when he starts 7th grade. And I'm just wondering, is there any way that is there anything that tells us what he should know at this point? or what they need to know by the end of the year, just so I can make sure that we're all tracking, because there's no telling whether we're going to be here next year or somewhere else. And I want to make sure that wherever he goes, he's prepared for whatever he needs to learn for the next grade.
So I would say the best like way to gauge that is the iReady program, just because it's constantly, it's actually monitoring your child's progress on a regular basis. And so if you would like to get personal information about where your child stands or what your child's iReady score was and what that means, we'd be happy to send that out for both reading and math. And I don't know if you meant another topic other than reading and math. Usually those are the ones that are the most crucial as far as being on track and making sure that your child is up to. Because in one state, like I know that in California, you don't learn US history until 8th grade, but on the East Coast somewhere, they learn it in 7th and 6th grade. So social studies and science are kind of all over the place, but math and reading should be on target. And so those are usually the ones that are the most important to track. We have any question? Yes, Tom.
Hello. So we kind of touched on communication a little bit earlier. I think I emailed you in the past too, because I wasn't able to see the Google Classroom. Mm-hmm. And I just learned that you were on Class Dojo about 50 minutes ago.
I got yes.
and so it was just a text from Catherine's mother saying, "Are you going into this meeting?" And what meeting? What's going on? So I'm having a big problem where I don't know what I don't know. And I'm not, it seems like I've been left out of all communication loops with the district, with any teachers, like Mr. Magnuson. I just learned your name a couple days ago, I think, and I have been sitting over Catherine's shoulder a lot too. And I don't think it's any fault of your own, but I need to know what I need to do to make sure I am in the loop for everything, because it drives me crazy not knowing what's going on and not knowing where I need to look to find out what's going on.
As far as the district goes, you want to make sure that your information is in Aries, the correct information. So any of the emails, I know that sometimes when we first register our children, we don't want to put emails or we're not sure what email to put. But if any emails go out from the teachers, we're only allowed to email teachers, or only allowed to email parents the email that they put into Aries. So if you have a specific email, like I have multiple emails, one email I covet and don't let anybody know, and then one like as a spam email. So if you've given the school the spam email, but you don't check it very often, you might want to switch that. And I'm not saying that's what you've done, but some parents have done that, and I'm actually mostly talking about me. So,
I haven't heard of Aries until today either. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I'd be happy to meet with you and sit and answer questions and just kind of help make you feel that you've got what you need.
Yeah, same here. It sounds like we should make a time and get together and get to know each other and what we're both trying to get accomplished here.
And as far as the district, there are so many things that are coming at us. Like last week, they told us on like Tuesday or Wednesday that we had to have this meeting last week. And we were like, wait, what? So there's a lot of things that are just kind of flying at us that aren't normal. And we're just doing the best that we can to get information out to you. So, it's not a good excuse, but it's kind of where we are with what's happening right now. So, please feel free, just reach out to us and we'll do the best we can to help you guys.
Yes, feedback from you folks is definitely the most important thing.
For sure.
Because it's hard for us to tell what's getting out there and how things are going. So.
All right, you guys have had some fantastic questions. I really appreciate you being here and sharing the questions that you have. Are there any other questions that we can help you with before we sign off? All righty. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us. This has been recorded. I'm going to stop the recording now. I will send it out